Let's get dangerous.
And just like that, what did I tell you? Pop.
Yep.
You
We said your name 3 times, and there you were, Cliff. It was
I
just like
summoned you
Candyman.
using the booty booty.
Yes.
I heard y'all in the backstage. I was like, yeah, okay.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I was like, I've been with it in enough shows with Cliff. It's like Cliff is going to be here right when we start. Don't worry about it. We roll the credits and everything. Cliff is here. Don't worry about it.
Right. I'm fashionably on time.
Yes, you were. You were fashionably on time. I came in fashionably early to, make him miserable.
No, you're not making me miserable. She got questions, and she asked all her questions, just about all her questions, because she doesn't stop with questions.
I ask a lot of questions, and I have opinions and all that sort of stuff because I'm a woman and everywhere I go because we have hormones.
Play her back at a slower
so do
speed.
guys. So do guys. We don't go that far. So
how is everybody?
Carl in the house here? And it's like I got here before Donna. Yes, you did. And there's Donna.
Carl got here before me, and then I got in before Donna.
Right.
She usually does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't forget to like and share, folks. I know you are subscribed, right?
No.
I don't know about that.
No.
Hey, Donna, I sent you guys physical
I want to send them
you guys.
physical copies
okay.
Yep. C2E2.
She said, sure.
So,
I'm not being rude.
Hmm?
I'm not being rude. There's a scratching at my door. Either a dog needs out or the cat pulled its cone off its head.
No.
Oh, no. Poor kitty cat.
How much helium did you have? you said your smoke went all the way high.
I keep a large amount in nearby just in case. Then what I will do is, Joe, I'm going to give you your picture.
Mm-hmm.
I am also going to give you some physical copies, one for Carl, one for Donna, and that'll be the last day of C2E2.
So what's the date for C2E2 this year?
The 11th, 12th, and 13th of April. We will be at booth 829.
829. Okay.
Cool. Did I get it wrong?
No, I was just thinking to myself, it's something like that. It's like at first I was like 826, 829.
829.
It's whatever. I'm not going to be all that upset about it because why? I still got to do advertisement for it.
My bookmarks have arrived.
Yay!
I only had enough to get one style done, so I got those, and I got a discount because I didn't know if you're ex-military, they will give you a Vistaprint will give you a lovely little discount.
Good.
They owe me money.
Well, you have to order it and then let them know you're ex-military.
No, they're more concerned about what's the 3 little letters at the end of the company name more so than anything else. But they owe me money because if I would have known that, I would force their hand.
Well, I I had to, in order to prove it, I had to verify via ID me. So
Mhm.
it's not enough to say I'm a veteran because any idiot can do that. So you will have to verify through ID me or gov.net or something to say, yes, this person is a
I, I
registered veteran.
I forgot the name of this one project, but since you are a gamer, we get free video games, computer games, and video games through this one project from time to time. And once the new game comes out, that's part of that project. You go out there to that website, you click on which one you want, you do the verify me, and boom, you have it.
Oh, is
Whether it
that
be
that game for vets thing they now have? I wasn't sure about it, but if I can let Charles use my verification, because I'm probably not gonna play the game, but he's a gamer.
right,
He's the
but
more
the thing
serious
is, it's available to you.
Okay, so
That
yeah, I will definitely. I thought it was like I know part of that is also connecting with other veterans to do
mhm.
gaming and stuff like that. So yeah, I will definitely check it out more. And I'm doing artist trading cards,
Oh, nice.
except
Nice.
I'm doing creepy plants. This is called. I did not know this thing existed. It's called the bat-winged orchid. The black bat orchid is what it is. And
Oh, there he is. There's Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Brad is a
hey,
good guy.
Brad!
Hey, Brad, are you coming to C2E2? Are you dragging Pops with you to C2E2 this year? Brad is kind of like Pop's camera guy when he does like Comic Cons in Michigan.
Welcome back, Donna. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm doing a whole series of these little cards on freaky plants. So I've got 3 done so far. It'll be interesting to see how many more I get done by the time for C2E2. It usually takes me. I have a whole bunch of plant pictures that I'm looking at. Except the first version of this, I found out it was AI, and my brain was like, "That's AI. I'm not going to let you draw this correctly." And then I went and found an actual picture of it. It was like, then my brain was like, okay, now you can draw that and make sure it's eating something. So, so I have all these orchids. I'm finding pictures of all these orchids and stuff, and I have them eating poor fairies and other creatures. Because I is dark and moody, and that's my insanity.
That's just you. That's all I can say here.
How is life among you shiny happy people?
Who said I was happy?
Okay, fine.
Well, before we get too deep into news of the week and stuff,
He was just saying he doesn't know that if he's going to show
okay.
up to C2E2 or not.
Okay. Couple of things for people that have been on the show before. We've got Brian Rodman has pre-orders open for his Memoirs of an Angel, the Great Pilgrim.
Yes.
So if you go to Brian Rodman's Facebook page and you look down just a little ways, it'll see should be right there where you can pre-order it. And he's getting some orders in apparently from what he was telling me. So also, speaking of conventions, this weekend, March 28th and 29th,
Yeah.
the Eric S. Hawkins is going to be at Big River Con over in Hannibal, Missouri. And this is his first convention in a while. And he's also getting ready to put the finishing touches on his next Zombie World of Oz book, I think.
Will he be riding elephants?
Could be. Or on a paddle wheeler on Ventures on the Mississippi. One of the two. I'm not sure.
I just thought, Hannibal and everything. He would be on elephants.
Or he could be leading a team of elite soldiers in a red van. So
have fun, Eric. We'll miss you. Send me candy.
Yeah, that's what I need for her to be hyper at C2E2.
I get people to the table.
Yes, you do. Yeah,
I give
yes, you
people,
do. But like I said, I kept you out of trouble with the celebrity, so that's my job.
you know, so
Hmm.
long as no hobbits or none of the critical role peeps come by, we're safe. You know, so long as the hobbits don't come by, John Reese Davies, because he's 6 foot tall and I want to climb him, you know, or any of the critical role folks,
I
you
got to
know.
delete image. I got to delete mental images because I just picture how that would go down, and I'm just up there like
Immediately.
I can see it.
So, speaking of celebrities, I got to watch a celebrity infused program the other day called Craven the Hunter.
Oh, you did.
I watched
Oh,
the movie.
yeah,
Well,
it's
I went
on
to
Peacock or something.
we watched it on Netflix, I think.
Okay, it's on Netflix. Yeah, I haven't
Um,
watched it yet.
but I kept having people ask me, "Hey, have you watched it? Hey, have you watched it?" We went to a couple of deals. Went down to SICon last Saturday, and 2 or 3 people, "Have you watched that yet? Have you watched that yet?" And so I was like, "Well, I guess I need to sit down and so I can at least say I've watched. I watched Madam Web. I can certainly watch that."
Mhm.
And,
No,
Just the way
no.
that just
That
said it
size
all.
says a
That
lot.
just said it all, man.
That size says a lot.
if they had, you know, a lot of the cast is pretty good. If they had taken the time to make their own original material, just a hero based on animal powers, or an adaptation of the Jaguar from
Hmm.
the Archie comics line, something like that. Um, but no, we have to lace it up with all kinds of continuity for Spider-Man villains that can't have a Spider-Man, and it's just bad. I mean, just it's just a waste of time, talent, and you know they they are hindered. I think it's one of those things where a crew is saddled with a script that doesn't make any sense and can't be made to make any sense because we have to keep an eye on the big Disney bucks and trying to somehow phase in a connection to what they're doing over there that has no connection by the time Disney guts it.
Yeah, it's
So,
when you've got all these execs, each of them trying to second guess each other as they try to second guess the boss.
Hmm.
it had some
Trying to,
good moments. That's what I mean. That's what makes it more irritating is like it had potential. It could have been something cool. Um, but no, we have to kneecap it right from the start with all of the stuff that isn't going to phase into any other sort of a Disney project or anything. So,
Speaking of Disney projects, I know a lot of people are bad mouthing this new Snow White. A lot of
hmm,
fanboys. Um, One I immediately realized was crap because he was talking about the bangability of the lead actress.
okay,
You know,
that's a
it was
giveaway. Yeah.
obvious he was trying to make it like he wouldn't do her if she paid him. And I'm like, sweetie, she probably got paid enough where she wouldn't have to. But the thing is anybody who knows the Snow White story, she first leaves her kingdom when she's about 14. And then it's a few years of her being with the dwarves before the evil queen gets word of her again, and that all starts. And that doesn't happen at once, it takes time. So by the time the prince rolls alone, she's about 17, 18 years old. Um, and the whole point of it is the mirror is trying to tell the queen that Snow White is fairer. But if you think about the language of the time, what they mean by fair isn't just that she's prettier, it's that she's also pure of heart. My favorite review so far has been Centel Reacts, and he got up and he said, "It doesn't suck." And he's one of those reactors that the Black Blurred community listens to. Um, and he was like, and he very clearly said, the girl is good. She's very sweet. She gives you that Snow White feeling. The songs are fun. His two big complaints were the dwarves were all CGI.
That was the other memes I've been seeing with actual short people with picket signs saying, we
You
could have
could have
been real.
hired us. There's, it doesn't always have to be Peter Dinklage.
Mhm.
But so the dwarves are CGI, and Gal Gadot was miscast. She, there are certain roles that you're meant for,
That's not one of them.
and this is not one of the roles that she's meant for. I don't think she understands how to be a hero, but to be a villain. And if you think about this particular villain, unlike say Jafar or some of the others, she's very low key. She doesn't throw fits and chew the scenery. It's a much different thing with her. It's this sort of slow burn sizzle. Yes, she orders to have the girl taken to the woods and killed and whatnot, but she's not fuming. When you think about it. And I'm speaking as someone who read an early Brothers Grimm version of that story, because back in the 60s, you still got the early Brothers Grimm version and about how it went. And I was telling my goddaughter about it this morning, and we were having a good laugh as I was trying to explain to her what this is. But yeah, so what I've heard is, and what he said was, well, those were things that he wasn't too happy about. It didn't take away from him being able to enjoy the film for what it was. So
Cool.
if you want to know about Snow White, folks, it doesn't suck.
Did you guys see the? It seems like the MCU is kind of trying to put.
Oh my God!
Their cinematic.
I know what you guys. I couldn't go. Coming away from the camera.
Okay. They're kind of putting their cinematic eggs in one basket with the whole Avengers Doomsday. Did you guys see the 5-hour cast reveal?
The 5-hour teaser trailer.
Yeah. Did you guys? Anybody?
I didn't see the trailer itself, but
Oh,
I saw the list of names that's in this movie, and I'm up here like, it's gonna suck.
It is a very long cast. I am curious because they are bringing Tom Hiddleston's Loki back, which I'm happy about. M'Baku is going to be there.
Mhm.
The girl who plays Shuri, the new Black Panther, is going to be there. So Feige is keeping his promise to the community. Because if you just see the trailer, it just says Black Panther, and you don't know who they're having as Black Panther. And then when
so you didn't see the roles of the chairs of everybody that's in the movie?
No, on Facebook they just posted it. It's I don't know if I shared it or not, but I found it in my feed where they had all the headshots of everybody who's playing, and underneath their names.
Oh, so you didn't see the video then? Okay.
And I saw like I said, there is a teaser there is a teaser going around because it shows scenes of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. There's a few snippets of dialogue from Doctor Strange. You see Tom Hiddleston. There are 2 shots of Tom Hiddleston, for which I went squeak. Cover your ears. I'm a little loud. Because it's Hiddleston. I've seen him naked. So there. But and there were some characters, like I said, M'Baku was going to be in it. It's like, great. I love that character. He brings a bit of depth to it. And he's kind of like he's like one of the few people from the Black Panther movies who didn't get killed. So I'm happy that he's in it. The lady who plays the head of the Daja Maloje, she's in it, also known as Michonne, and I can't remember her real name right now, and I feel like an idiot. So I'm happy to see some Black faces come in. The girl who plays Black Widow's sister is in it.
Florence Pugh?
Yeah, Lawrence Pugh is in it. I believe. So there are enough return, and of course they got Hemsworth,
Hmm.
because I guess if you get RD, if you get Robert Downey Jr., you have to get Hemsworth.
I saw the
And
same thing, Donna, with all the names on the chairs. But I didn't watch it they launched it like every 12 minutes. They would show a different chair. I didn't stick around for all that. I just waited to the end to see all of it at one time go down.
And it went straight down the line. It was
Yeah.
like a whole row of chairs until they got to Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is like, and he was like, see, he kind of like, see what I bring, what I bring to the table and who I bring out. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's good movie going. This not movie not going to be good.
I don't know. It didn't. I mean, it was a clever way to do it, but as far
Yeah.
as making me excited, nothing has excited me as much as the Superman trailer so far this year. I don't think.
My youngest saw it. He saw the teaser when I was watching it too, and and I said, well, just to go see Red One, we spent over $300 just at the movie theater, and there were only 5 of us, and then another 200 after that. So I don't know if we'll see this in the theater. We might have to wait for this to hit Disney and set a family movie night or something and make popcorn and something and watch this. Like, I don't know if we'll have the money for this, just because that's, especially now AMC. If you go to the one at Black 37, when we were there, was it the Dwarven Axe they had? Courtney? Huh? What was that they had at AMC? They had the Tankard and the Dwarven Axe or something?
Yeah, I think it was like the battle axe and the tankard.
Yeah. So they are selling like memorabilia stuff, but it ain't cheap. It's going to cost you some money. They have some lovely things that you're not going to find elsewhere, but it's going to cost you. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm kind of like,
Yeah, she saw the same thing that we was all seeing here, and that's been what they've been showing all over the news, all over everything dealing with entertainment, about with the chairs and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, once I start, it's like I saw Kelsey Grammer's name as Beast.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So they're doing older Beast, not the younger.
And Alan Cummings is returning as
Alan Cummings is returning as
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, and Patrick Stewart is coming back as Professor X.
I can deal without Channing Tatum being Gambit.
Yeah, that's gonna say, yeah, he's gonna be it.
I was trying to ignore that.
Yeah,
I was trying to ignore that. It was like you just couldn't help but walk up there and go, "Hey, I got a big old stick. I'm gonna stick it in her head." I was trying to ignore him.
Again, another thing, like I tell people, it's like as much as I was clapping for the death of Cyclops in X3, I was doing the exact same thing in G.I. Joe the second G.I. Joe movie when Duke died. Channing Tatum was not Duke. I'm sorry. By no means.
I keep thinking Channing Taylor is trying to find, I don't think it's so much about the money as he wants to find his superhero personality. Kind of like, because we've seen it happen. Chris Evans was Johnny Storm. And I loved his Johnny Storm. I thought for the age he was and the time it was made, I thought it was a good Johnny Storm. He could do it at that time in his life. He couldn't do Johnny Storm now, except of course,
Well, he just did it. He did it again in Deadpool, but it was great. It was great.
He was really wonderful in it. But I'm saying, when you think of Johnny, you think of the young, late teens, early 20s Johnny Storm, which is where Chris came in the first time. That sort of hothead, rebel, lover boy guy.
Spider-Man in Spider-Man's age.
He's more a little older than Spidey, but still within that sort of 10 to 15 year age range. I think Captain America but I think a lot of actors could have played that role just as well. Captain America, on the other hand, that was the role, the superhero role that Evans was meant to play. I think that was the role that was meant for him. He embodied it exceptionally well, and I think with RDJ, they kind of, if you think about their approaches to leading a cast and being part of things, they kind of co-led that cast. Whenever we had Avenger movies, you could feel that it was like they were like, this is the level, guys. Not down here. It's a superhero movie, yes, but this is the level. You got to come up here. You can't be down there. You got to come up here. And then everybody went, okay, fine, and came up there.
I guess that's the one thing that I will save this argument for later. Okay. There's a couple of characters that I don't feel that reach that pinnacle when you think about the Avengers.
Okay. And we're all allowed our opinions on that.
And I could start with one character right off the bat, which is Hulk. I still feel that Ed Norton would have been better than Mark Ruffalo.
I think Mark Ruffalo made the better Banner. I liked Mark Ruffalo's Banner, though I would have preferred Eric Bana's Hulk. I would have, to me, that was, and there's not a way you could do it easily without there being a problem, but I thought Eric Bana was a better Hulk. And Mark Ruffalo was a better Banner in regards to fitting, especially if you think about fitting into that team and working off RDJ's energy and stuff. I just don't see Norton. I think RDJ would have just swallowed him whole.
I don't know about that.
So Cliff, I don't know if you've weighed in on this before, but
do
you know?
I'm sorry.
I had some witty banter going back to Snow White, but we missed it.
Come on, hit me when you do. Come on, I'm ready. Come on, got my fist. Come on.
I was just gonna say your lonely fanboy friends need to know their movies for women that are bangable, and they can watch those. But I can't say anything because my kids refuse to watch any of the live action Disney movies.
Wow.
They're like, we have the animated one. Why don't they make a new movie? And I'm like, you're 10. What am I supposed to say?
The only movie they're making new in regards to animation is Moana. Mm-hmm. And they set up the end of 2 so that they're going to make a 3.
Yeah, we have to watch that one.
And the Lilo and Stitch series worked very well off the movies.
That is a big hot topic in my household right now. The live action.
Because they're about to go live action with Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, I saw that. It's like, and I told my son, no. He watched Mufasa last night because he loves The Lion King. He has seen all the animated movies. He's seen the series. He loved Timon and Pumbaa. He likes the new Lion Guard. So, and this was at least in this one, it was a prehistory. In other words, how did Mufasa become the king and all of that? So I wasn't as mad at it, and he loved it. But, for me, it's like you could have just animated, you could have just gone to Pixar and say, hey, guys, here's the script, make it work.
So, Cliff, what about Moana or Lilo and Stitch? What's the topic of discussion?
The big thing is, aside from the fact, why is it live action? Stitch is going to look ridiculous. No matter, I don't care how good your CGI is. The 2 biggest complaints that in my household, and I don't have your typical American household, I will admit that. They don't like the Nani, Lilo's sister. She doesn't look Hawaiian to them. And Fleekley is not in drag.
Oh, no.
And they're very ticked off about that.
Well, yeah, because that later, especially if you watch the series, that becomes a part of that's how he hides out from the authorities and other people.
Yes.
Is the whole he's in drag.
Yes.
You
And
know,
they don't like it because they watch. I've almost memorized the movie and the series. Sadly, I know that there's like 4 movies.
So do I.
Yeah, but you know, one of their favorite scenes is they always love when Pleakley's parents come to Earth and they're leaving and they say, "Bye, son, we love you. Try to wear men's clothing every once in a while." So they're upset about that. But you know, like I said, that's my household. We're not the litmus test for that type of stuff. So,
hey,
but as far as we don't watch live action movies. So I hope they make $1 bajillion on it and they just keep doing what they do and all of that. But we'll stick with the animated ones because they're more fun.
I don't know if you've weighed in on this before or not. So if it's a repeat, forgive me. But the RDJ part of, oh look, we're going to make him do, you know, basically a Stark variant becomes their Doctor Doom for Doomsday. So how do you weigh in on that?
I've read it. I don't pay a lot of attention to the movie stuff because the comic movies aren't made for people like me. They're made for people who watch TikTok and have never actually sat down and read a comic, which is fine.
And don't understand what the word lore means.
And that's fine. There are certain things like my favorite Marvel movie is Across the Spider-Verse. But my favorite live action one is Black Panther. But the rest of them, I like them better than I like the DC movies for the most part because I never watched a DC movie past like the Michael Keaton Batmans where I felt like that was actually the character on the screen. I mean, I don't really like Ant-Man, the movie, but Paul Rudd was Scott Lang. I have no problem with that.
He made those films fun.
I don't know about Robert Downey Doom. Because Doctor Doom is like the best villain in comics ever, and I'm saying that as again, I don't read a lot of Marvel.
He couldn't be better if he was. He couldn't be better than if he was anime.
Yes,
because he's that villain who sees himself as a righteous individual.
Yes, and if you look at what he does in the comics, aside from the y'all are all morons, I'm the only one smart enough to rule everything. A lot of what he does is not wrong. It's just he's like, I don't care if I kill half the planet. That's the big upshot.
Yeah.
But don't know about Robert Downey Jr. I didn't know about him as Iron Man until I saw it, and I was like, okay, he makes an okay Iron Man. My problem with Robert Downey Jr. is because that movie and all those movies were so successful, Tony Stark became a giant man-child in the comic books because he had to be Robert Downey Jr. I don't want Robert Downey Jr. to become Dr. Doom in the comics.
Because he'll become a giant man-child, and that will ruin the character.
Yeah, and for your debate on the Hulk, I didn't like any of them. None of the 3 because I didn't believe any of them were geniuses. I was like, you all failed 9th grade biology. So my favorite Hulk was Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk.
Yes, I really love me some She-Hulk, especially because she got Daredevil to do the walk of shame.
I dislike that show because
I did not like
her lore. They destroyed her lore.
I did not like the show.
But they kept the breaking of the 4th wall.
I didn't like the show. I liked her. I liked her because we watched Orphan Black.
Oh, she was amazing.
We have watched all 5 seasons at least a dozen times. So she can't do any wrong by me. And I knew she would do a good job playing a character. The material she was given was not Jennifer Walters. It was a problem. So
I agree with that.
I was kind of hoping she would make the cut for Doomsday. She's one of the characters. The She-Hulk was a character I kind of wanted to see in that because I thought with what she had to work with again,
Well,
She did a good job, but
She-Hulk is in it.
I didn't see it. I didn't see her name.
I didn't see her name on there.
Mm-mm.
There's a picture of her as She-Hulk. So because like I said, there's a thing on Facebook and it's got pictures. It doesn't have people's names. It's just the names of their characters. So Anthony Mackie is listed as Captain America. The girl plays Shuri is listed as Black Panther. M'Baku is because he's M'Baku. You ain't gonna call him nothing but M'Baku. So that's how they have them listed by their character names. And you either know the actors who played those characters, or okay, they're gonna bring this character, because it doesn't say Tom Hiddleston, it just says Loki.
Well, if she's in it, they will definitely get my view on Disney Plus.
I will probably watch it on Disney Plus. In fact, I was gonna say maybe what we should do is pick a day and I can host a viewing party or something.
That'll work.
You know?
And
we can sit in our houses, eat popcorn, talk smack.
Is it going to be an 8-hour-long movie like the last few have been?
That's the thing. That's another thing.
They've got like 50 different lead speaking parts. It'll probably be, it'll probably be about the same length as all 3 Lord of the Rings extended editions.
And my favorite Avenger movie.
Huh?
Not long as it's not 2 Towers. 2 Towers I fell asleep on. I would still fall asleep on because of the stupid tree ends. Let's think about. That's like, come on, get these things over with.
That's what the ends are. They never you never say anything fast and old intish. That's just how it is.
You don't need 30 minutes of footage with the tree ends. If the only thing you have to do is like, okay,
they're ents. They're tree herders. They are ents.
Again, the only thing you have to do is just have them to form a quarrel, and that was it. You did not have to go back to their scene over and over and over again for Mary and Pippin to be like, we need to hurry up. We don't have time for this. 15 minutes later, it's like we don't need all that.
It took them if you read the book, which it took them the better part of and up until early evening for everybody to get through saying good morning. That's just how ants are. Trees are slow, ants are slow. It is just what it is. And that's part of the joke of the scene, is the whole don't be too hasty.
Peter Jackson's on my hit list for making the Hobbit 3 movies. I'm just going to say it.
Don't make me fight you.
Cliff, what did you start to say about the Avengers?
I've adored you until now. Do not make me fight you. Or better yet, I know I can't fight you, but I know where Joe lives.
No,
we fight all the time.
I'm sorry.
And sometimes, like I said, I just let her get the frying pan and just like, here, go ahead, well away. I don't care.
When the Hobbit came out, we went and saw it in theaters. We took my oldest daughter because she was the only one we had at the time, and I was so excited because I loved the book. I read The Hobbit over and over again in high school. I loved it. Sat there watching the movie, talking to her about it, all that. Then it got to the end where they stopped to get ready for the second movie. I threw my popcorn and said a bunch of expletives, and my wife banned me from the movie theater for a while.
Okay.
So,
but I will say part of that problem was not PJ, because Peter Jackson wanted to do it in one movie. But what happened was the guys at Warner said, because those 3 films carried Warner's for 10 years. It's the big movies that pay for everything else on the lot. It's the big movies. And because they were like, it's $200 million per film. And then they were breaking in billions of dollars. So when Peter Jackson said, when they were like, hey, somebody should make The Hobbit. And Peter Jackson said, fine, if you need The Hobbit, we know the lore. We have all the experts and stuff. We can do it. We know how to do it. Yeah, it's the bean counters. And the bean counters at Warner's got up and said, hey, you did the first 3 as 3 movies. And it's like, because they were 3 books. And they said, you have to stretch it out into 3 movies. And PJ and his team said, we only need to do it in 1. And,
I'll use the Krusty the Clown quote from Simpsons when they asked him, why did you approve this Camp Krusty that was so horrible for all these kids? They backed up a boatload of money and I couldn't say no to it. So that's
but I think of it this way. We'd rather have seen PJ do those movies or and close your ears, Joe, because Clyde, close your ears. All you nice Christian people, close your ears. Or would you like to have seen the bastards that did Rings of Power get their hands on it? Let's absolutely be honest here. The studio was going to get it made regardless. I would rather it be in PJ's hands than those dipshits. Okay? I'm sorry. I would rather have PJ have done it than they give it to some idiot.
Well, let's consider the Warner Brothers bean counters anyway. Apart from The Hobbit being 1 movie or 3, how about this? Let's make a Batgirl movie and then not release it because we get more from our as a tax write-off. Let's make Coyote versus Acme and not release it. Let's release. Did they do
that to another movie?
They did. Not release it so we can.
They also fired understand the house that Freddie and Jason built, New Line, was the same house that greenlit that initial trilogy. And you would think that Michael Lyon and his partner would then be in a position of, hey, we brought you the golden goose. And so they should have been in a position of protected. No, they should have been able to go off and do whatever they wanted. But Samuel L. Jackson just couldn't stand them MF snakes on that MF plane. And The Last Mimsy, which was not a horrible film, it just wasn't that level. They got up and said, well, we're going to keep your company, but we're going to fire you from it. And then cut your workforce in half.
They played them on Janet Jackson. What have you
done
for me lately? And
it shouldn't have been that way. In old Hollywood, the fact that you had 3 movies that basically would have underwritten the next 50, they would have just said, you know what? We don't care what you make. Go make what you want to make. So long as it don't cost more than this. And I've known people in old Hollywood that's, they had that one great film. And then the studios are like, yeah, so long as it doesn't cost more than this, go make what you want to make. We don't care what it does. You just, we don't have to work for the next 10 years. We
That's
got
the reason
money.
why I feel bad for Scorsese now.
I do not feel bad.
It was
Scorsese.
sarcastic. It was sarcastic.
It's like if I had to, he would have to have a whole bunch of dudes named Guido twixt me and him. Because otherwise, I would go Will Smith and knock his punk ass down.
But we have a Porky Pig and Daffy Duck movie that is currently in theaters, animated, and
we
drawn.
Do? Yes.
Yeah, hand-drawn animation. They went old school for it.
Whoa! Where? When? How?
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't been keeping up.
Joe, buy me tickets.
But why?
And popcorn.
Why do you not know about it? I can tell you why.
Because they're not
Warner didn't promote it. They're not interested in it. In fact, what was it?
They're about to sell the license to Looney Tunes.
They pulled all of the Looney Tunes cartoons off of Max, and now the rumor is that, just what Joe said, the rumor is that they're getting ready to try to unload the property of Looney Tunes. So, this is
some free
and
TV
there's some truth to it because
it.
it's in Variety. It's some truth to it because it's actually in Variety that they're shopping the Looney Tunes brand. And I was like, Whoa, that's big news.
That
for
would be
any
like
big
Paramount
animated
selling the entire Desilu library.
Hmm.
You know, the thing that for ages now, decades, has kept the lights on at Paramount has been their Desilu library. And that would be I mean, it's those, we grew up in those. I don't know very few people who, once they see their first Bugs Bunny, sits there and go, you know, especially anything made before 1970, doesn't sit there and go, meh. Because it's, you know, especially if you show them something like What's Opera Doc, or the Robin Hood one, you know, the monster ones, they love it. And it's that's like taking your grandma out and say, I'll shoot her if somebody gives me a quarter.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's horrific. It's horrific.
It's about to happen. It's about to happen because, again, places like Variety doesn't report gossip,
No,
but there's some truth to it. There's
the
some truth to it
Reporter
without them copying.
and Variety are not gossip mags. I get that. And if it comes up in Variety, there's truth to it. I get that as well. I used to read Variety quite often when I lived in LA. I'm just saying, this is definitely cutting off one's nose to spite one's face. You are definitely, it is a screw up of monumental proportions. But
one in a series, just the latest in a series, I would think of that. So I don't hold much.
Let's not talk about Free Comic Book Day and condolences for that.
My heart is breaking because that had become a some do. Some do. Once you sit them down and show them the good stuff, they do.
Before we trip on that landmine, the thing about Warner Discovery now is they don't want to be a content creator anymore. They want to be an IP farm.
Yeah.
And that's because Discovery was built on cheap program they sell to other things. So they don't want to have a studio and make a $200 million movie that they may break even on. They want to sell the IPs. They want to sell, here, you can have the Looney Tunes library. Here, you can have the film rights to Justice League. You pay us our money. They're in serious negotiations just to shut down NetherRealm Studios, which makes Mortal Kombat, which is a cash cow. Even if the game stinks, people are going to buy by the millions.
Yes.
But they want to retain the rights to the IP and just get the revenue almost like royalty checks. So that it doesn't surprise me they're going to do that to Looney Tunes. And you didn't see any promotion for the movie because Looney Tunes doesn't sell. Why doesn't Looney Tunes sell? Because we don't promote it. Oh, Looney Tunes didn't sell, so we're not going to promote it.
Which is stupid. You're not promoting it, you know. But I've known people who I've told them, you know, let your kid watch Looney Tunes, and they'll come back and go, "Oh my God, they loved it." It's like, yes, it's my like kids. Bugs is like, you know, this is Chaos Incorporated, but you have to think your way through it.
Do you have any idea how many times duck season, rabbit season is on loop in this house?
I tend to run around after people singing "Kill the Wabbit, kill the Wabbit." You know.
See, y'all bringing up all these memories of like.
We also
I'm going to
take it as a point of pride when we can Bugs Bunny my father-in-law.
Oh my goodness!
And what I mean by that is duck season, wabbit season. He can have his staunch life opinion. And after about 5 minutes of driving him in a circle, he's changed his entire opinion. We've Bugs Bunnied him. It's rabbit season, or it's duck season. So,
my uncles and I, you know, it's like one of the things that breaks my heart is when I was younger, New Year's Eve, I couldn't wait for my mother to get out the house because that meant I had New Year's Rockin' Eve. And after New Year's Rockin' Eve, I switched between Channel 7 and WGN Channel 9. Why? Because Channel 7 had all of the Rodgers and Astaire musicals. Started with Flying Down to Rio, which was not a Rodgers and Astaire film. It was actually a Dolores Del Rio movie that they first were put together in. And WGN, Marx Brothers. So I would switch. I would watch one of their movies and switch over and watch the Marx Brothers. It was wonderful. It was glorious. And you can't do that. They don't show that anymore. And trying to find a lot of those great old movies, I'm going to have to start buying them, because the only way you get, I want Cheney's Wolfman, but I got to pay for it. I want Lugosi's Dracula, but I got to pay for it, because you can't just watch those. I found a bunch of movies to watch on Halloween, only to find out half those movies had to be paid for. All the classic horror films were ones I had to pay for, so I didn't get to watch them.
If you search hard enough, a lot of those older movies are on very, very obscure apps for free. But
have they been chopped up to death? Because sometimes I'll find something that's on an obscure app and it's been edited to death.
No, you have to look for them. Like, one of our favorite Christmas specials is the old claymation Christmas with the California raisins in it.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
And we had to hunt that down on the Roku Channel's app store on Studio 76 free V something or another with like 20 numbers behind it.
Wow.
And it was
I have to
show.
look for that then.
You can watch, and the only other things they had on there were like really low rent Mystery Science Theater 3000 wannabes. So all you have to do is look, and you can eventually find them, but you got to have the time in your life to do it.
Good night, Carl.
I was really happy that I found, I found Mr. Magoo's Frankenstein here. I found Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol on Amazon. And yes, I went and bought that baby, because I'm finding if I find something on Amazon, I only have half the first season of Hakuoki because I waited too long. Amazon and Vudu are great too. Night, Carl, Donna. They're great if you can buy your things in time, because I was buying Hellsing Ultimate and I only got halfway through because of what it cost to buy per episode. And I could only buy the episodes as I could afford them. And by the time I had enough to get the rest of the episodes, they were unavailable. I can keep the ones on the service that I've already paid for, but the rest of the series I can't watch now because
the entirety of Hellsing Ultimate is on Crunchyroll, the anime app, and they have a free tier where they have like ads on it, so you can watch the whole thing for free.
Okay. I usually watch the Team 4-Star version here on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. There are a lot of adult references, so I would not recommend it for you guys. But for us filthy pagan heathen strident feminist people, it works. But I would not cinch anybody's wings for that one. Though to watch Hellsing Ultimate is kind of like, woo.
Yes, my oldest has discovered Hellsing, the manga, and the Ultimate anime, and yeah, I'm like, you just wait, just wait.
Tell them if they need a Hellsing Ultimate fan buddy.
I will let her know.
Cliff, I saw some of your little ones were hanging with Sasquatch today. Did you see the pictures?
They were?
I think so.
Oh yeah, that's when we took our trip to the safari park for spring break last week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we went to the Tennessee Safari Park, which It's a great time if you want a family trip, but you're like me and you don't like getting out of your car too much. Because you drive through and you feed the animals, and it's kind of a tradition around here for us to go, especially after my mother passed, because she was the best person on earth to take there, because she grew up in 1940s Mississippi with no electricity and dirt floors. So when the buffaloes that they warn you will attack your car try to steal her bucket of food, she cusses at them and slaps them on the nose.
Because she's probably had to smack a couple of bears.
Yeah. So it's a family trip. We always had a good time, and we went through their little petting zoo because it's the only way you can use the bathroom. And they had Sasquatch over in the corner, and we're
what do you
such
take
children
to feed
here.
Sasquatch on
That's
the car?
right.
Yeah. My
That's right.
youngest just informed me I've got to get my hands on some serious money because he wants to go somewhere where he can actually pet a penguin.
Mm.
And it's like, sweetie, the people who get to go and actually pet the penguins get to pet the penguins because they've paid a lot of money to the zoo. You know, they don't just let anybody walk up and, you know, pet the penguins and stuff. You have to have connections.
Tell him if he wants to bad enough, the Hollow Earth Society has expeditions to Antarctica looking for the entrance all the time.
My youngest is autistic and retarded. He's like a 4-year-old. So no. He would, let's put it this way, for the longest time he wanted to go to Tippi Hedren's I don't know if you know Tippi Hedren, the birds lady. She, I don't know who's running it now, but she created a foundation so that for tigers, lions and stuff, people who've had small zoos that have individual owners who they died and the animal couldn't be taken care of, or they were mistreating the animal, and people have contacted her as like, we have no place, we have a dog shelter, we can't keep a adult tiger. She has a reserve where they take these animals and take care of them, and they live out the rest of their lives with dignity and stuff. He saw the documentary on that, burst into tears. He was about 13. Burst into tears and demanded we go back to LA so he could go work with her.
You should have.
Okay. I'll be back.
No, she's having one of those moments.
Yeah, no, I'll be back. Oh, I'm not letting you meet my son because I can see the trouble you would get me in.
Never.
Joe, do you know DC Chen?
Yes.
I am still looking for a double-handed battle axe for Josie. He started it. He bought her about 2-3 years ago. He bought her a Minecraft sword, and then posted where he gave her the sword and she immediately attacked him with it. And I was like, yeah, Josie, that's it. Come on. And I told him, as soon as I've got enough money, I'm going to get her a Josie-sized dwarven battle axe, you know. So it'll be plastic, so she won't actually kill any better. But I know the minute she opens that pack, she's leaving that puppy at her dad.
Excellent.
But yeah, I adore Josie. I tell DC, it's like, think of it this way: when she gets old enough for the boys come calling, you ain't gotta worry about putting fake dead bodies on your porch. Just let Josie out the door. She's got her sword in one hand, her axe. What? That's all that's needed. She'll know when she's found the right guy because, he'll pull out his sting, or a bow. You know?
No, it would be like he walks up to her, I surrender. If she doesn't chops his head off, then it's a match made in heaven.
you know she's found her dude. You know, and then and it's like and just remind them that you have kung fu skills. You're bigger than they are, and you ain't got no problem with sitting on somebody until bones start breaking. He's hefty. We call him Panda. So he's sorry DC, but he's the guy I was talking about when we were doing the show, the fundraiser. He's the guy whose books I was talking about. So that was fun. Okay, I will be back though. I have to make a run. I am sorry.
Well, we're about to get ready to start we're about to talk about the reviews and stuff in a few minutes here because we are in our second hour.
Yeah, and I don't have a book because I am busy trying to get my butt together for C2 ATIP. So so who's starting?
I don't know who else got a book. I know I'm going to do the one that I haven't been able to do over the last 2 weeks.
Clyde show. It's the Clyde show. He's gonna.
No, I just have a book
today.
He just have one book. I just have one book. I don't even know if Cliff has a book.
Do you have a book, Cliff?
I have a cheat book.
Okay.
If that counts.
That's fine.
Oh,
yeah.
Cliff got a cheat book. Cliff got a cheat book. Cheat book. Cheat book. Okay.
There you go.
I'll be back.
All right, let me see. Yeah, my cheat book, just because I know I think it's out now, or it's about to come out, is Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee are doing Hush 2. So that made me go out, dig out my trade, and read Hush again. And it's not so much, it's a 20-year-old book. I'm not reviewing something people don't know about. I was just reading, when I was reading through it, I wanted to talk about how it was one of the last DC books besides like an event book, like Infinite Crisis or something, that I remember that had that kind of hype behind it that everyone was trying to figure out who Hush was. And it was pre-social media. So, we would go to like Wizard Magazine and it would be like, what clues were in the panels this month of the issue? And I just remember me and, not with my bad grammar, my friends and I around here would all get together at Bookstore, which is a local bookstore for a while. And since they were all artists, they would sit there and draw and I would drink coffee. And we would always talk about Hush and about how, and we were all convinced it was Jason Todd, every single one of us. And then if you read Wizard, it was like in issue number whatever. The only time you see Hush is he's standing behind he's standing in front of a building, and the only words you see, the only letters of the building you see are ROB. It's foreshadowing, and it was just so much hype behind who is Hush, and it was so, and it was because Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee were doing it. Everyone after Long Halloween, Jeff Loeb was like, "Oh, this is the Batman writer. This is Batman," and Jim Lee's Jim. Well, actually, Scott Williams is Jim Lee, and Jim Lee is Jim Lee. But so it had the big hype, and I just remember how deflating it was when we all found out, no, it wasn't. It was the Riddler and Tommy Elliott, who we just found out about 12 issues ago. And I don't think they ever captured the same amount of hype for a regular in continuity book since then. I mean, like I remember Infinite Crisis had a big hype behind it, but that was an event. That's what it was supposed to do. This was just, they didn't even, it was just the regular Batman numbered issues. It wasn't even like a mini series or anything. And I don't remember since then a regular in continuity one story having that kind of hype behind it. So I haven't been to my LCS in a while. He's got my wanted posters up. He's probably going to stab me when I get there.
Mhm.
But I'm waiting to pick up the first issue of Hush 2 to see if it's any good, but I don't think they'll be able to get that hype back. I don't think in either of the big two companies can do that again with a single story. I think it was the right place, right time, right amount of technology. We could all be in contact with each other, but not enough that we were oversaturated. And the story was interesting enough you were into it. And then, they did what they did. And they still brought Jason Todd back to life later, and it was through Superboy Prime having a hissy fit and punching a wall.
Mhm.
And then they made him this weird whatever he is now that all the emo kids love. But I don't think I'm really curious. I'm really excited because I love Jeff Loeb's Batman. I don't think they'll be able to do anything close to that this time. And again, I think more than anything else, it's because I haven't read any of it, but I already know what happens in at least the first 3 issues because of websites like Bleeding Cool or Tumblr or not Twitter. So I don't think they'll be able to do it, but I really hope they could one day because it was that and the hype going into Infinite Crisis, I think were my favorite times since I was a kid as a comic book reader because of the excitement about everything. And I don't know, I'm not knocking anything now because it was a different world back then. Just like it was a different world in the 1980s when Crisis on Infinite Earths came out, and you had no way of knowing what was happening next. I just feel bad that I don't know if they can do that again. And I think it's something like that that's a shot in the arm mainstream comic books need.
Hmm.
And I don't know if they can do it again. I'm
Well,
going to tell you, Hush 2 is not going to do it. The absolute series of books isn't going to do it. I don't know what will, but I hope they figure it out because that was so much fun. I remember, especially between us arguing about Jason Todd as Hush, and then Gail Simone convincing half the comic book readers that Catman could replace Batman in Infinite Crisis. I cannot remember another time there was that much hype into comics. And DC carried it they went from Hush and they bounced around a little bit into Identity Crisis and then Infinite Crisis and then Blackest Night. And it was like one whole continuous thing that they had momentum for a while and they lost it with Brightest Day and then the New 52 and they never got it back. And outside of the movies and the fact that it's Marvel's never hasn't captured that hype in years either. And I don't know what they can do to do it. And I don't. That kind of makes me sad because I would like my kids to have that kind of excitement about the next issue of Captain Carrot's coming out. What's going to happen? And I don't know. I thought it was really interesting, and I'm glad I took the time to pull the trade out and read it. Of course, my wife read it not that long ago, and she ruined it because she read it and she didn't know anything. She's not a comic book reader. She didn't know that much about it, but she read through it. And I go, well, what did you think? She goes, well, it was obvious who Hush was because he was the only person I didn't know they introduced in the book. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't really have much of a review. It's just a statement about comics right now. And again,
Yeah.
I love a lot of what DC's doing comic wise. I love some of the one-off things I'll look at from Marvel. But there's not that hype there. And I don't know, I think that's the part that excitement of the next issue. And I hope they find it again one day because I want, like I said, I want my kids to feel that. I'll tell you, my oldest was a big comic book reader because I just had her reading comic books with me when she was growing up. She liked The Blackest Night. She loved Legion of Superheroes. She constantly questions why I let her read the Judas Contract when she was 12. But the New 52 killed her interest in comics completely.
Yeah.
And then I watched through her eyes and the eyes of kids I used to teach, how they don't have that same hype and love anymore because they're not doing anything to catch their attention. They do stuff like, hey, look at us, we're doing something ridiculous over here. Look at us. And they can't do that in the modern age because, like, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I'll stop. When something comes along that might get a kid's attention now and gets hype behind it for them, all they have to do is Google it, and it kills the hype for them. Like, and this is a bad example, but this is one I always go to. I taught a African American boy for a while, and he was into superheroes. He loved all the shows. He loved all the movies. And I was talking to him about comics, and he fell in love with the Flash TV show. He fell in love with Wally West, Kid Flash on that show. And then one day I came up, we were talking, and he goes, yeah, I Googled Kid Flash because I knew he was in the comic books, and he's really a white guy. And he didn't want to, he lost all interest because he's like, why couldn't they made somebody else? And I don't think if it's the bean counters, like Joe says, or if it's just people out of touch with current culture or what, but they're missing a connect that we had growing up and that we even had in our adulthood with Hush. They don't have now, and I don't know how they can get it back, and that kind of makes me sad. But outside of that, Hush is awesome. Read it if you haven't, and if you have read it, read it again, and then go read The Long Halloween, and enjoy your life. Thank you. Come again.
It looks like the first issue of Hush 2 launched the 25th, so this Wednesday. So
yeah, I've not been to my LCS since January, so I have health issues. I don't get out of my house much, and so I feel bad when I go because they have to make a little seat for me to go through my books and stuff, and I just feel weird. So I haven't
love you enough to do it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
yes, but no, they love me as my LCS. Austin says Cliff is my worst and best customer. So I'm trying to hide from him right now.
I bring them banana bread.
I bring them my kids and they cuss at me.
I bring them banana bread. I found out if I bring James banana bread, he's like, oh, look, Elaine is here. Free banana bread.
It's our offering in lieu of paying, so you get $3.
My LCS is also an official. I don't know the right term for it. They're an official tournament location for Magic the Gathering.
Oh, okay.
So there's always events going on. So those people don't like me because he'll push them out of the way where I can have somewhere to sit. And they are some of the most foul-mouthed people. I almost had to choke a judge because he wouldn't stop saying expletives in front of my kid.
Yeah, that's a little stupid. It's like, okay, there are kids in the room. There are kids in the room. Let's think about what we're saying. There are kids in the room.
Especially for a card game that encourages kids to play.
Yeah. It's like let's there are kids in the room. Let's be decent.
So Michelle, that I sort of reviewed the time period of Hush. There you go.
Mm-hmm. I want to address Cliff's last comment here because I see a bigger problem. Like Parallax kind of said some of it.
There are no editors.
No, but yeah, that's the problem. But it's not even that. It's just more along the lines like when that kid went back and found out that Kid Flash was white. he doesn't understand the error. When I say error, the time period
Yeah.
that those characters were made in. If he understood the time period that certain characters like Kid Flash, Feral Lad, Storm, a lot of these characters were set, were not meant to be the way that they are today. So, by them doing Kid Flash the way that they did in the TV series was more of making Kid Flash palatable for today's audience, as opposed to what he was. Wally West, to me, is still going to be the best Flash that has ever Brett the Hitman Hart said, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever going to be.
And the best costume, the best Flash costume ever.
I think my generation is very lucky in regards to being Black, because we got Lieutenant Uhura, and suddenly here was a Black woman who was like hot, but also good at her job, exceptionally good at her job. And yeah, she had the little hot pants outfit and stuff, but I didn't think of her uniform that much. I thought of, here was this woman, she was respectful, she was respected, she was good at what she did. And she put her life on the line just as much as the men around her did. And it was, look, there is a there's a Black woman on a starship, and she's not making coffee. Lead that to the blonde chick. She's not making coffee. She is, and I love the story now that gets out about her and Dr. King when she was thinking about quitting the show. I knew I had read enough of her. I'd read some bits from her autobiography where she talks about she and Roddenberry had been a couple and had been very serious, but this was as he was starting to move up, Paramount and others, as they were noticing him, were getting a little they didn't just control your public life, what you did professionally, but they also wanted a hand in your private life. And they were sort of like, oh, you're not going to get far dating her. And they broke it off, and he ended up with Majel Barrett. I'm not going to say anything about that. But they at least broke it off understandingly enough so that when he got the go-ahead from Lucille Ball to do Trek, he immediately thought of her. And she said yes, because he asked her, but the suits were constantly like, oh yeah, she's great eye candy, but, and there were times when they were like, did she need to be on, does she really need to be on the command deck? And it's like, well, she's the communications officer. Yeah, she kind of needs to be there. She's not a switchboard operator. She's a deck officer. She's a senior officer in his crew. And for little Black girls, that was a big thing. Yeah, I've met her a few times. I met her when first time I was pregnant with Charles, and he tried to run away with her when she was singing Beyond Antares when he was 2. He got up on the stage and was like, "Come with me." Don't know what he was planning. All I knew is he took her by the hand and he wanted her to be his. But
it goes beyond that.
Well,
she was technically 5th in command of the Enterprise, which most people don't know. And it was one episode where she actually sat in.
She actually had to have the captain's chair. But what I'm saying is, for little Black children, that was revolutionary. Her being there was like, you could see a future that we were a part of something other than somebody's house cleaner, or just the junkie on the street.
Did Dr. Mabenga have that kind of a significance for you as well, or not as much?
Not as much. It was seeing Nichelle. And then when Storm joined the X-Men, it was like, and I had always felt like I didn't have a word for how I felt. And then here are the X-Men, and you hear about mutations, and then there was Storm, and here was this amazing, and she was young. She was like, I think at the point when she joined, she's like 18, 19 years old, and yet she has this great deal of wisdom and depth to her character. And I just love the hell out of her. Okay. You know, but it was like, oh, Black women, we can help fly starships. We can be superheroes. You know, she was nobody's mammy. She was nobody's second banana. She held her own. You know, she's held her own against Scott, against Wolverine. She was the one that when Peter looked like he would lose his way a couple of times, she was the one he went to. You know, even Nightcrawler. In many ways, she was sort of the spiritual center. She became the spiritual center of that group. And I just thought I was in love with her because it was like, yes, she's not a hoochie mama, you know. I just love the hell out of her.
Technically, she's the leader of the modern day X-Men because if you go back to the issues, she actually beat Scott for leadership.
Well, she was also leader of the Morlocks.
She beat Callisto for that too. Yes.
She beat Callisto to save Angel's ass. She was she was the leader. She was not a coward. She was not a coward at all. You know, and so I love that about her. I loved that she had this strength. And
I think they need more Storms and more Kamala Khans and more Miles Moraleses, more than they need. Let's just take this character and make him what we want to fit in this hole.
Well, I'm going to ruin some of what I'm going to say on Saturday. Okay. I don't see it that way.
Really?
The way that I see it is that writers need to stop making compromises on characters because a lot of these characters that we grew up with, it really depends on what they saw outside their front door with what nationality that character is. It's like we live in this great big world and we have all these different characters, and every character in most stories from like 1930 to maybe like 1970 has only been dominated by one particular race. And that to me is a major problem as far as storytelling is concerned. We had diversity in characters, but it was never truly represented in a way because there was some external force by some type of publishing company that kept it from being the way that it's supposed to be told. The true story is supposed to be told here.
Well, you have, dare I say it, the white savior complex. You see it in Batman, you see it in Superman. You know, to some degree, you see it in other characters where it's this lone white male Captain America. You know, if Steve Rogers wasn't he could be a whole different character if they had made him totally the white savior. And that was the one thing I loved about Chris Evans' portrayal, because I think he understood that. She just gets me all the time. You know, I think he understood that enough to say, okay, I need to play him with a little humility. He is a man out of time and a man out of place, and the world has sort of moved ahead. You know, one of my favorite scenes, not Civil War, it's the one that happens. It's the one when we see Sam become the Winter Soldier. And I love those first scenes where you see Sam and he's up and he's running, and then you hear like Cap on your left. He's like, okay, fine, let me move. Then it's like he's running again on your left. But the last time he's like, yep, fine, I get it. But you realize, okay, you are passing homie on purpose. You're not just, it's like there's this whole big ass park you can run through, and that's the one person you are constantly running. It's like this, you are tracking him for a reason. There's a reason why you're constantly going past him. But I loved I think there are other actors who, if they had played that role, there was in Evans a kind of, there's the whole language, but even then it was more fun. It was more of a gentle fun. He's leader of the group, but he's not there are different types of leaders, and his leadership is not stomp you in the head. I'm the great white savior. What I say goes. No one else can have an opinion. That's not mine. And I love the way it's like, okay, I watched that movie several times and about the third time, it's like, okay, this is purposeful. This isn't like he's just running into him. This is purposeful. He's scoping him out. He knows more about Sam than Sam thinks he knows, and he is scoping him out. He is trying to get a feel of his character, because he's already got some sort of decision that he wants to make, even if it's just having Sam on his team in some way. And it's like, I like that. I remember the 70s when the Falcon had an actual falcon. Had a cute little bird.
Red Wing.
I want Red Wing in the movies. Why is it Red Wing in the movies?
Because that's what the Falcon was named in the books. The actual Falcon that he had was named Red Wing. He had an actual.
Oh, it's a drone. We don't want a drone. We want a bird.
Right.
Yeah, it was a bird, and he had a kind of connection with that bird. Mm-hmm. You mess with Sam, that bird was coming for you. You didn't mess.
Sam could give Red Wing a look, and Red Wing will attack at a moment's notice.
Yeah, for a while they were saying that he was a mutant, and his power was he was connected to only Red Wing.
I used to wonder if he and Red Wing had some sort of psychic whatever, because it was like Red Wing just knew. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, bam. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you not see my friend over here? Does that hurt? Them claws are sharp.
And I love the fact that they made, in the comics and in the movies, they made Sam Captain America. I thought that was great. And I don't know, I like that better than just filling in a hole. Like, we need my oldest calls it the wheel of diversity. And my oldest is a very, where is she? She just walked off. She's she knows I'm talking about her.
Does she have a dwarven axe? Does she take an aim at you?
No, but she can choke a dude unconscious. She's a lesbian and a very high opinion of representation, but she hates, and she calls it that. She calls it the wheel of diversity. It's like, okay, we need a black character, an Asian character, a gay character, a funny character, a black haired character, and that's what I don't like. I don't like that. I would rather have, okay, let's make Sam Wilson Captain America because it's time to have a new Captain America, and this is it.
And he's the man for the job.
Yes, and I like that because it's not. It doesn't come across. It comes across as more genuine than. All right, spin the wheel. Flash this week is going to be transgender Asian lady.
Well, there's continuity.
I don't like that.
The only casting they've done of that I liked, I will say, is when somebody got the idea to make Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury. And understand, I was reading Sergeant Fury comics back when they were fighting. I've read Sergeant Fury comics when he and Howling Commandos were in Germany. I read Sergeant Fury comics when they were in Vietnam. So, and then when Sergeant Fury became, all of a sudden got bumped up into an officer and became the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., I was like, damn, Fury, you know how to get this stuff done. But I will say, of all those interesting bit of castings that they've done, Samuel L. as Fury, I ain't mad at him.
Well, it was great because that was in the Ultimates. Sam L was Nick Fury.
See, yeah, I wasn't
you cannot tell me you didn't laugh when in that whatever crossover event it was, Original Sin or whatever, they went down into the S.H.I.E.L.D. basement and opened the door, and there's, I'm Sam L. Jackson, Nick Fury Jr. That was funny.
I didn't see it.
There was no reason for that. And it was just like, hey, I'm here. I've been here since 1960 something. Hi. And then like, well, you're Nick Fury now. Old Nick Fury, you become the Watcher. There you go. Fixed. I'm like, seriously, that was so funny. They literally went into a basement and pulled Samuel L. Jackson out of it.
Okay, see, I didn't see that. Like I said, I had read, there were times when I wanted comics. I had money for a comic, and the only thing they had was Sergeant Fury. And in the 60s, early 60s, they still had some of the fighting the Nazis. And then as we got more into Vietnam, they were in Vietnam with the Howling Commandos. And then, of course, after once the 70s, it's like, well, he's no longer in fashion. What are we going to do with this character? And somebody got the idea, why don't we make him the head of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
And he got a flying car.
Well, he wasn't the head. He was working his way up the ranks of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And he had a flying car and just appeared in comics with that car. And I was like, wow.
He became a secret agent at that point, and it just worked for him.
But I kind of didn't get all those issues. I think the last one was a Vietnam issue that I had. And then years later, he was on the S.H.I.E.L.D. thingy in Spider-Man and Black Widow, who had been skull-bugged, reclining the S.H.I.E.L.D. thingy because she had been skull-bugged, and he was trying to help her figure out what was wrong, and she all she knew is she really had to break into the big S.H.I.E.L.D. flying thingy.
The helicarrier.
Yeah, the helicarrier. She had to break into the helicarrier. That was
cool. Like flying thingy. It's like there's so many different flying things, and once you mention it more and more and more and more, it's like, oh, she talked about the time that she broke into the helicarrier.
I'm 64. Deal with it. Yes.
And Nick Fury is David Hasselhoff.
And that was when she had the ability to copy skills of certain other people. Because Spidey is climbing on the side of the helicarrier. So is Black Widow. She is imitating his ability to climb up on the side of this thing and not fall off and get dead. Kind of like that classic Gilligan's Island where Gilligan makes wings. And then the skipper says, Gilligan, what are you doing? He goes, I'm flying. He goes, you can't fly. And Gilligan goes, I can't? He goes, no. And of course, then he falls down.
But he was flying until they told him said something to him.
But yeah, for a time she had the ability to kind of certain powers she could mimic. And I wasn't sure if it was like contact or something allowed her to mimic. It was a weird thing. But yeah,
was that before or after her costume was the funeral dress?
This was when she actually still had a alter ego. Because
so this is back during the Daredevil days.
Who's old here? Goodness, Clyde, talk to these children. When she was still banging Nick when she was still banging Daredevil.
And Daredevil was an actual superhero.
Yeah. But she had it where she was a spy for Shield, but her cover was that she was an it girl. So she would attend, it was kind of Bruce Wayne-ish. Because she would attend parties and be photographed and be seen with this famous person and that famous person.
Raven hair Black Widow. People don't remember that. I do.
She had black hair.
Yeah. Or black-haired Black Canary.
But black hair Black Canary was her original color. She used to wear a blonde wig when she goes out.
Oh, that's true. In the beginning, early comics, when she was regulated to just a few pages on the back of a Batman, she actually performed in a blonde wig so that people wouldn't know what she really looked like as a brunette.
But that was her mom.
Yeah, but I miss the old-fashioned Spider-Woman when she could fly. I miss the days back when Spider-Woman. Well, she didn't fly, but she could glide.
She glided. She
glided. But
like
still,
Wonder Woman.
Peter Parker couldn't glide.
Yeah, the old Spider-Woman cartoon is on Disney Plus, and my little girls watch it.
Oh, okay. You're
and Spider-Man and and Spider-Man and his amazing friends. So.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I introduced my kids to anime. And then I introduced them to Tolkien because Bakshi and Rankin Bass had basically between them, which is funny because they were actually fighting about this in court about who had the right to the IP. Rankin Bass did The Hobbit. Bakshi did the first book and first book and a half of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They did Fellowship and part of the Two Towers, and then Rankin Bass finished out with Return of the King. So technically, between the two of them, they have the trilogy covered in 3 different cartoons. Sorry, and I introduced my kids to that. But I also introduced them to Akira, and now my 37-year-old still can't watch it because the Inside Out scene just freaks him out. It freaks him. But then he introduced me to Battleship Yamato.
Well, don't show him
and Vampire Hunter D
or Demon City.
I think he introduced me to Demon City. I think.
But what about Wicked City?
Wicked City, yeah. He brought me. He introduced me to Vampire Hunter D. I discovered Wicked City on my own.
Right. If he doesn't like that Akira scene, he would not like Wicked City.
No, he really does not like the Akira scene.
I kind of ruined my girls because their first anime was Fist of the North Star and Berserk.
Do you let the girls watch the shower scene?
No, they didn't really watch that, but they watched all of that just uncomfortable, weird violence, and we're just like, okay, this is normal life.
I could just picture them watching that one scene where, if you watch the American version, James Avery was the actor, the real big dude that was huge. And he gets into a fight with Kenshiro, and it's like Kenshiro just start kicking. It's like you just see all the flab just open it up and everything. And it's like, oh, was that supposed to hurt? It's like, no, you're already dead. And it's like he didn't realize that Kenshiro already hit him.
Yeah.
Before Disney restored the full Nausicaa story, Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind, was released here in America as Warriors of the Wind, which is how I saw it in the 80s on cable. I then found the DVD of it, and that was the first full-length anime that I introduced my kids to. And they were like, oh, Mama, our consciousnesses are raised. You've introduced us to superior things. Because, I was that kind of weird mom. In fact, other people didn't want their kids coming over our house because it was like, well, she lets them watch weird things. Reading Rainbow.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh well, that is
How is reading Rainbow weird?
because they teach you to read. You can't do
Because they
that.
teach you to read, not just to read, but comprehend what you're reading. That was
If
the
it
whole
wasn't for
push.
reading Rainbow, I would never go to the library.
My little girls are homeschooled, and our part of our reading class is old Reading Rainbow.
Ooh, I
Yeah, I
actually
found it on YouTube.
I got a copy of the Kapiti Plain book because we were in Barnes and Nobles one day, and my youngest saw it and he recognized the cover. And James Earl Jones reads the book on Reading Rainbow, and I got it. And then I took it home and I was starting to read it, and they were like, "You're not reading it right." And I'm like, "What do you mean I'm not reading?" He goes, "You're not reading it right." And I had to go, "This is the story of King Pat." Because it was like, you're not reading it right. But they had, HBO had a great series of books. They had taken Kipling's Just So Stories and had animated them with the narrations being done by stars. And so Jack Nicholson did The Elephant's Child and how the camel got his hump. And you have not heard a story or laughed your butt off until you've heard Nicholson do the Curious Elephant Child. It is just, and especially since you're listening to him, it's like, okay, he's on something. I know he's on something, but it just makes it that much more fun. And I'm having to tell my sons, it's like, don't do things like Mr. Nicholson, but enjoy the reading of this book.
All right. Well, we go ahead and do this here because we're running out of time here.
And Leia's hungry.
Clyde get his review out the way, and we're going to.
Oh, it's late. I don't need to do it.
Oh, come on, Clyde.
I'll just show you the books I got over the weekend. I picked up a few that were nice.
Those are big.
This one was one that I had when I was a kid. Superboy 158.
They're alive.
A nice Bob Brown art. That was one of my favorite artists growing up with the Superboy titles. Unfortunately, Frank Robbins was the writer, and he was not much of a scripter. But I remember Neil Adams' cover sold it, and then the Neil Adams,
definitely Neil Adams type cover.
But so that was one of those. And I was like, when I first got it, I could actually with Bob Brown, I could get a Neil Adams cover and get Bob Brown interiors and go, okay, that's good, that's good.
Back in the day when you had to work the better part of a week just to get the 15 cents to buy a soda and a bag of chips.
Yeah. What'd you start to
ask? That's not a treasury size book, is it?
No, it's just a regular issue, 15 cent issue. But I try to get some
better than mine.
I try to get some of the ones that I had as a kid and no longer have, and that was one of them.
Yay!
Then I try to get some that were house ads that I never could get the actual book, and this is one of those, the 80-page giant Superboy with Crypto, and I also got the first appearance or the only appearance, I think, of Destructo, Crypto's arch enemy there.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
But also a Rat Patrol model ad on the back, but there's something about those when they would have the house ads and you'd see the cover, and usually it was a Kurt Swan cover like this one, and you're like, I want those stories so much, but by the time you saw it, it was like 2 or 3 years after, because you bought it as a used comic book. So every once in a while when I find a good reader copy like this, I'll pick one up. Cool. And then another one that I had, 100-page. I've been trying to reclaim the 100-page super spectaculars that I read until they fell apart. And this is one that had Airwave and Super Chief and 3-part Luthor Brainiac story. But look at
that back cover.
Yeah, isn't that cool? And it's got, this was, I think this was my introduction to Kid Eternity from back in the Quality days.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And Airwave, another hero that still exists today. In fact, he's the current holder of the name is in the new Justice League Unlimited series comic book, and a major character in that
And the
arc right
Atom.
now. And the Atom.
The Atom
And
down
Super
there.
Chief.
Hmm?
Super
Super
Chief.
Chief with the
Super Chief, yeah.
with the buffalo head.
Yeah. Yep. And then, because I have a friend that is into some of the older Western stories, I was looking for copies of Have Gun Will Travel.
Have
hard to come
Gun Will
by.
Travel.
With the photographic covers, because it shows the color of his adventuring gear was actually dark blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Even the holster? The holster was dark blue?
No. The leather gear was black. But
Okay.
in black and white TV, it all
looked black.
Yeah.
Right.
But on the covers of the books, you could actually see that
It's blue.
some of it was dark enough that it looked black anyway. But a lot of the covers, you can see that it's a dark blue color. And he always brings this up when I see he's an older fellow, but he always brings this up. He's like, you know what color Paladin's outfit was? Blue. Yeah. How'd you know that? Because it's on the comic book cover. Okay. And so that's what I was looking for, but instead I found this is a 10-cent Dell.
Oh wow.
Roy
Rogers and Trigger.
Trigger.
So I didn't have any Roy Rogers books, so I got that one. And then one that I used to watch on Saturday mornings, Fury.
Ooh,
okay.
That's one I didn't know.
Yep. Well, it was kind of like My Friend Flicka and Fury. They were horse heroes, TV shows. So
I was more Lassie and Mr. Ed.
Well, I watched those too, but Fury is one of them. It wasn't around very long, and they made it a Saturday morning show for a while. So anyway, that's what I just picked up a few things to put on the spin rack, but happy to get them. So.
One
But
of
those
these
are
days,
good pickup
I
for a
shall have
spinner
to
rack
find
here.
your house, get into your spin rack, ninja my way in and out.
Clyde and I are kindred spirits because the only books I ever haggle over
Oh yeah,
are handing down the 100-pagers. I'll actually
Yeah.
haggle over the price of them to get them. And this was one of the first ones I picked up.
Yeah.
Was the Superman one with everybody flying on it. So
I got the reprint of that one, but I have looked for that one with all the flying heroes. That was one of the best covers.
I found it at Superman Celebration one year in that little dealer room they have. And he, the guy had it at a pretty hefty price, and I talked him down because I didn't know it, but my daughter bought me for Father's Day the two Brave and the Bold issues where Starman and Black Canary teamed up. She bought them right before I walked up there, so he cut me a deal because she'd already given him money and I didn't know it. So I thought I was a good deal maker. It was her.
Your daughter, you raised that child right. You raised that child right.
Don't ask her that though.
Don't ask her that, or don't tell her that.
Either one.
You're like, did he raise you right? Then she gets over like, your dad raised you right.
Because she'll say,
another messed up answer.
When something like that's brought up, she goes, Dad, you had me read the Judas Contract when I was still like 12. And I was like, yeah, that's a good father. What's your point?
Like I said,
certainly a lot of other things that you could have had her to read, but that was a decent one.
I loved when my kids were younger because when Batman the Animated Series came out, all the Kids WB stuff, all the Disney Afternoon stuff, I loved it because it was like, okay, get home, get your homework done. Or if I let you watch this, that means as soon as it's over and I'm getting dinner ready, y'all are doing that homework. And I would sit and watch it with them. I always made myself a habit of, if they found something that they wanted to see, to watch the first couple of episodes with them. Instead of just automatically saying yes or no, it's like, watch the first few episodes and say, why do you like this series? And so to get an understanding of what they found enjoyable, but also to get an understanding of the series before I made a decision of, yes, that's acceptable. No, it's not. Because I had friends, kids, Charles especially had friends who, it was like, if they come over, he can't watch this and we can't watch that, and because his mom doesn't allow it. It's like, and I had mom get mad at me, and it was like, you give them, it's like, yeah, I give them a say. When I'm making a decision about what they're going to watch, and I say, this is how I feel about it. If they don't agree, they have the right to say, well, I don't agree. And if what they say makes sense, then I might reconsider. They know the last word would be mine, but, I believe in giving them a voice, because when you stifle a child, you tell them your opinion doesn't matter. I grew up under that parentage. A whole generation, I'm part of a generation of Black kids who grew up under that style of parenting. It is so murdering at best to be told you don't have a right to an opinion.
And you were also involved. You were present for what they were doing, which, even right, wrong, or indifferent, that means so much to kids. Watching show with them or interacting with them about it, because I remember growing up, my mom was a single parent who, at 36, had me, and in her 40s had to go back to school to become a nurse and work and raise me. But every Friday night, she made it a point to sit down, and we ate corn dogs and French fries and watched A-Team and Knight Rider. She didn't care about watching those shows. She was there. She was present, though,
because those are shows.
Yes.
I have watched endless episodes of. I have watched endless versions of CSI. And Criminal Minds. I remember Wednesday watching Criminal Minds, but because those are shows he likes, and then it's like, what character is your favorite? And it's and we would talk about what that person is doing is bad, and they're trying to find out who it is, and then make sure they can't hurt anybody anymore. That's why they do what they do. This is why they're the good guys. So I was able to use it as a way of discussing the difference between right and wrong, having integrity. He loved the Bones series, and I watched endless episodes of Bones and things, because those were things he was into. And I grew up with a lot of other kids. My mom was a single mom. She worked because neither my father or my dad or my sister's father were, contributing. So she had to carry that load. But I didn't want to I was a kid who went and sat and watched TV. And nobody asked me, the only time nobody asked me about what I was watching, it was just, are you watching that? Turn it off. Which I really didn't like. In fact, I got to a point where I had the Star Wars, this Empire Strikes Back soundtrack, and my mother's boyfriend at the time got mad because I was listening to it. And she came home and found that I had him cornered behind our fridge with a couple of big old stabby things, because it was like, and my mother was like, what are you doing? It's like, you said, if you put on a piece of music or you're watching something on TV, the other person has to wait until it's over, and then they can watch it. He went and scratched my record. I had bought the soundtrack album with my own money that I earned. He scratched my soundtrack album, snatching it off the record player. So it's like, yeah, okay, bitch, you gotta die. Luckily,
your mom was like, nice knowing you. Get a good relationship. See you later.
My mother, I argued my case. I watched enough Perry Mason, so I just decided I was going to argue my case. Like, this was what you said was the law. He broke the law.
No jury in the world will convict me.
If he breaks the law, he has to suffer the consequences. And as far as I'm concerned, the consequences is death.
Break the deal and face the wheel.
Hello. My mother, of course, did not. She agreed that he had broken the rule. And the fact that he, as a 6-foot-something man, was cowering in a corner behind the fridge because a 4-foot-something little black girl, had her mama's meat cleaver in one hand and a Louisville Slugger in the other, and I was going to kill him. She said the fact that I had scared him that much was enough, because she said the neighbors can hear him screaming. It's like, great, I can stop his screaming. Give me about 5 minutes. He won't scream no more.
And your mom was like, we're not saying permanently, just for right now, just for a few seconds.
I wanted to know. It's like, okay, I ain't got to kill him, but I know if I hit him in the right place with his back, he won't scream no more, ever. And my mother was like, no, that's a little too intense. So, dang. And I told him, I said, if my mama hadn't come home, I would have gotten me some skin. Put my stuff away, walked off. She made him buy me a new album. Because I had to buy. I was working. I had a job. And my opinion was, I was at that age where people were like, if you want this, and this, you got to pay for it. It's like, fine. I got a CETA job. I was earning my own money. So when you wreck my property and I have pride of ownership, oh, you got to die.
You wreck my stuff, I wreck you.
15, 16-year-old me was an angry young woman.
More I'm on this show, the more I am fascinated and terrified of Elaine.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's not that. It's like the more I find out, the more I was like, yeah, she's a Marine. She's a Marine.
The government.
It's like she grew up to become a Marine. That's just pretty much it. It's like all of that angst is just like, yep, that's Marine angst.
I had all this anger, and the Marines was like, hey, we can tell you how to use that anger and kill somebody. I'm like, okay. What do you need?
We can help you channel your natural abilities.
Yes, we can channel that rage. And then I became a drunken monster and used to go around in Japan and punch sailors for fun.
And you gotta hear those stories. those are some fun stories. It's funny because you would never expect that out of Elaine. When I tell people that, I'm former Air Force, it's like, but you're not military. Like, it's like, what do you mean? It's like, you're not gung ho and doing this, and this. It's
He's like, an Airedale. He's an Airedale. A designer breed.
I'm up here. It's like
devil dogs.
It's like I trained to actually design airplanes. It's like I wanted to design airplanes, but they had me to do more computer programming than anything. And part of that was like I also got interest in kind of like espionage. So I was up here following around all of these army people that was doing intelligence. That was meeting those type of people and becoming like a spy. Becoming like, I could become a spy.
I'm a Marine. Let me win your hearts and minds, or I'll burn your damn huts down. That's all I need to know. That's the Marines.
Joe, have you been to the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C.?
No, I've been to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, but not that one.
The Spy Museum is amazing. They have the history of espionage, and they have like all of the one whole section, of course, is like a James Bond section because it has to be. But then they have like one section that's all of the different things they had during the Cold War, the smuggled people across the out of Berlin and out of Russia, and all the stuff. It was so fascinating. I wish we had more than 30 minutes to spend in there, but it's a good trip if you ever make it up there to go to it. And of course, they got
I'm
James Bond
eventually going to
everywhere.
go back and visit those museums all over again. Because I never got to the actual Smithsonian, but we did get to the Aerospace Museum to see the first Gemini capsules and everything. And during that time, they actually had the Star Trek exhibit there.
Yes.
I went with my daughter's school trip when she was in the 8th grade. And I want to go back when my other kids are older where they can remember it. But it was so much fun to go, but they didn't balance their time well. We only had an hour and a half for the entire Smithsonian.
Oh my goodness.
Man.
Wait a minute. There's like how many, a lot of people don't realize the Smithsonian, because you hear the Smithsonian, you think it's one big building.
No, it's
a
like a major big campus. It's like
it's
big
a huge complex with individual buildings for specific subjects. Yeah. And
you could spend a week there. Yeah. And we had 45 minutes for the National Archive.
Wow.
Yeah. But they did give us 2.5 hours for the National Cathedral.
Oh, cool.
No, that would have been interesting, but it's still having like 4+ hours where you can actually touch the actual concrete on those capsules, because it's like you would never know that those early capsules, it's like the bottoms of it it's like concrete. You expect them to be metal. It's like feet upon feet, nothing but concrete. And I was like, they survived impact. Wow. It's like
that's why they were
like
touching down in water.
That study of aerodynamics and materials and all this other stuff, and what would survive re-entry and all this other nice stuff. I mean, that's history to me. That's history.
Well, also, if you think about it, metal, considering the degree to which metal would heat up coming in for atmosphere, but between the time you break atmosphere, you get past the stratosphere and whatnot, it still has. I mean, if it was just metal on that bottom and it hit that water, have you ever seen hot metal in water? That could have been interesting. Armstrong could have got his little goose cooked.
Not really got the goose cooked, but it probably would have destroyed most of the bottom of the capsule.
I remember.
It's like if something that's superheated gets super cool real quick.
Oh yeah.
Explosion. Explosion. It's like.
That's what made Hidden Figures so enjoyable for me, because watching her having to work out that math, what it would take, at what point do you need to, at what angle, at what speed do you need to come into so that when you hit, you're not dead. And you have a chance of coming out of there in one piece, as opposed to, oh, we can't film. We'll see y'all later. Get ready to rest. And then they've got to scoop bits of him out.
See, I gotta rewatch it, because again, from my flight training, that's the way that they explain the whole thing about windows for when you get into like the upper atmosphere, for things to go in and out of space here, there's only certain pockets that you have to hit that won't superheat the rest of the vehicle. If you miss those points, you're dead.
Also, if you come in at the wrong trajectory, you can literally just bounce off the atmosphere and go.
be lost in golf forever. Triple sorry, Clementine.
I just read me some Asimov.
But we're at our 2-hour mark, so it's time to say goodbye.
Bye.
All right, so we're going to start in our normal order here. We're going to start with Elaine, then go to Cliff, then go to Clyde, and I will finish off. So here we go.
Thanks for coming to see us. Go eat something, Leia. I know you're tired, and as the girls. We love you. We are grateful for anybody who comes to check us out, whether it's live, whether it's later. Come back. You know where to find us. You know where to find me, lenscaponline.com. Come see me at C2E2, booth 829. Yeah, Joe will be there too. I'll be premiering And The Coming of Nighttime, Book 1, Nothing Like the Sun. Okay, go let you go. Have fun. Peace.
And here is Cliff.
I'm still here in my house in Olive Branch. Come see me if you want to, but more importantly, go see Elaine at C2E2.
And now, the elder statesman, Clyde Hall.
Hey, so yeah, some call me an elder statesman of geekery. You can follow me at Facebook, Clyde Hall, or Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall. And on Blue Sky at captainaction.bsky.social. Or you can check out my Amazon authors page right down here. Yes, go see both Joe and Elaine at C2E2 coming up next month. And also check out the Eric S. Hawkins, Big River Comics Con this weekend at Hannibal, Missouri on the 18th or the 28th and the 29th. And Brian Rodman has pre-orders open for his I can't even remember my handwriting. Memoirs of an Angel, the Gray Pilgrim, which I have a story in there. So the pre-orders are open, and he is taking orders, and you could go to Brian Rodman and on his Facebook page, and you can go down just a little ways, and you can see he's got a link directly to the pre-order page. I do comic book reviews. I'm part of the Comic Beat online comic book review crew at comicsbeat.com. I'm also an award-winning contributing writer at Stormgate Press, and I have short stories in a bunch of their new pulp anthologies like Pulp Reality. I just came out with Pulp Reality number 5, dedicated to the mystery men pulps of The Shadow and Doc Savage, those sorts of things. So this one's all original characters, but done in the new pulp styling of those mystery men and mystery women. So it's a fine issue to check out. And also, I have things in some of their other anthologies, like Tim Bruckner's Major Marjorie, which is old-fashioned sci-fi pulp, and The Lost Adventures of Captain Hawkland, volumes 1 and 2, Aviator Hero, new pulp fiction, and for Western pulp fiction, Spurs and Six Shooters, Tales of the Old West. Those are all on Amazon, but you can also find them at www.stormgatepress.com. And Comic Book Spectrum is brought to you by one of our Stormgate Press alumni, artist extraordinaire Jeffrey Hayes of Plasma Fire Graphics. That's his work right there. And everything except the Pulp Reality 5 covers, all of these, Spurs and Six Shooters and The Lost Adventures of Captain Hawkland and Tim Bruckner's Major Marjorie, those are all the work of Jeffrey Hayes and Plasma Fire Graphics. He is a Pulp Factory award-winning artist several times running, and his covers illustrate why. For your next project, with books or games or anything that needs graphics that will draw people to your table, Jeffrey Hayes is the person that you need to contract. He is affordable. He's easy to work with. And now Joe will tell you how you can get Jeffrey Hayes and Plasma Fire Graphics working for you.
That's right, Clyde, because if you like what Clyde showed you book-wise, you're definitely going to like what we're going to show you right here with this video.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
As far as me, I will be here on Saturday for another episode of from the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I already gave you a little bit of a preview of one of the things that we're going to talk about, but there'll probably be some more stuff, plus new comic book pickups for the week and some other things happening here. And be looking forward to, because there is going to be some more announcements dealing with C2E2 coming down the line here. I still haven't made up my mind if we're going to be live or whatnot during C2E2 as a whole either. So it's a lot of stuff to come forward from that point to now, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So until then, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike Brian K. Morris, who is the founder of Comic Book Spectrum, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. And we are out of here for another Thursday. Have a good rest of your night. See ya.